Alcohol's been linked to 7 types of cancers, in actual fact, which is pretty shocking. It can cause a leaky gut, it can cause liver problems, acid reflux, high blood pressure, issues with the throat and esophagus. It just seems like each and every study that comes out now is linked back to alcohol in terms of health challenges and complications.
Hello, welcome to the Myers Detox Podcast. I'm Dr. Wendy Myers, and on this show, we talk about everything related to heavy metal and chemical detoxification, the health issues caused by all of these toxins. We talk about anti-aging, bioenergetics, which is one of my favorite topics, healing through energy medicine, and in more advanced topics than you'll find on other podcasts. We don't really do the basics here. We have a great show for you today. We have James Swanwick on the show, and he's going to be talking about quitting alcohol for boosting sleep, focus, and business success, and also improve detoxification. When your liver is, on fire processing alcohol, it's not doing anything else. You're not detoxing, you're not optimizing your hormones, certainly not optimizing sleep, but not only that, you're destroying your brain. We talk about the research wherein people that only drink one drink a night, they show a dramatically reduced brain volume. We talk about how alcohol wreaks havoc on your hormones. If you're taking hormone replacement therapy or thyroid medication, or you're a guy taking testosterone, alcohol is not helping things because you still have to metabolize those hormones and turn them into a different form, or the thyroid hormone's got to be transferred, converted to the active form of thyroid hormone. And you're not going to be doing that very well if you're drinking alcohol on a regular basis. And so we debunk that myth that one glass of red wine a day is healthy for you. Not true, beyond debunked. And we just talk about how alcohol reduces your performance in being present with your family, being able to make good decisions in your business, and the true cost of drinking alcohol, and how you can dramatically improve your health by quitting for good. And so James, he's got a great book called Clear. He also has a program that you can do. It's a 90 days to quitting alcohol. So really great show today. So our guest, James Swanwick, is an Australian-American entrepreneur, author, and former ESPN SportsCenter anchor, best known for helping high achievers break free from alcohol. He is the founder of Alcohol Free Lifestyle, a program designed to help business owners and executives quit drinking without relying on AA, rehab, or willpower. And through programs like the 30-day No Alcohol Challenge and Project 90, Swanwick has empowered many individuals to make lasting transformations. Swanwick is also the CEO of Swanwick Sleep, a company specializing in blue light blocking glasses that improve sleep and performance for professionals. And he co-founded the Sports Entertainment Network and is the author of the newly released book, Clear, the only neuroscience-based method for high achievers to finally break free from alcohol. So you can learn more at alcoholfreelifestyle.com. James, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Great to be here, Wendy. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us about yourself and how you got into health?
Well, I was a socially acceptable drinker growing up in my native country of Australia, in that I would have 2 or 3 drinks most nights of the week, and I would drink heavier on weekends. And I did that from age 16, 17, all the way up until age 35, when I decided to quit drinking for what I thought might be 30 days. And now it's been 15 years alcohol free and counting. And that was really the turning point for my health journey and for my life and for my relationships and how I see the world and experience the world. Because for those 20 years, from age 16 to 35, I was irritable, stressed, envious of other people, jealous of other people, not sleeping great. Was carrying about 30 to 35 pounds of unwanted body weight. Was weathered. I had weathered skin. And I identified that really my drinking habits were a huge part of that, if not the biggest part of that. And so really, at age 35, I decided I'm going to take a 30-day break from alcohol just to see what would happen and feel better. And I lost 13 pounds in 30 days. My skin improved. I slept better. I auditioned to become a sports center anchor on ESPN, which is one of the most iconic sports TV news shows on US television. And I got the job to my bewilderment. So I had this proof that being alcohol free would help me professionally. And I attracted a great romantic relationship, and I had a much more positive mindset, and I was more generous. And I just loved the experience so much. I thought I'll just keep on going. And like I said, it's been 15 years now. And now I have an organization called Alcohol Free Lifestyle, which supports high achievers, including many women who are balancing career and families and have got health issues, to live an alcohol-free lifestyle. And then I wrote a book called Clear, which is a neuroscience-based approach to help people to stop drinking alcohol. And that's my life's work now.
That's great. Yeah, I saw you on social media talking about going alcohol free, and I kept seeing you over and over and over. And I thought I got to get this message out to the listeners, to my listeners, because when you're trying to get healthy and detox, and you can't just barrage your liver with alcohol every night and expect some miracle to happen with your health. And I stopped drinking also. I've never really been a big drinker, but have had my periods, when I've been depressed, when I've definitely imbibed more than usual. But I think that I saw some recent stats to how 8% of cancers are caused by alcohol. And I thought, you know what? I think it's just time. I think it's just time to quit. And I probably had like one glass of alcohol, maybe one or two a month, which is not really that much, but it still affects you. It just does. It affects your liver function, your blood sugar, your sleep. Anytime you choose to drink, you choose not to sleep that well that night, and that catches up with you. So tell us, so what are some of the health repercussions of alcohol? I just mentioned the cancer issue, which kind of just pushed it over
Yes.
the edge for me, but tell us some more,
Yeah.
expand on that.
Yeah. Well, actually, alcohol's been linked to 7 types of cancers in actual fact, which is pretty shocking. It can cause a leaky gut. It can cause liver problems, acid reflux, high blood pressure. That's been linked to breast cancer in women, prostate cancer in men, issues with the throat and esophagus. It just seems like each and every study that comes out now is linked back to alcohol in terms of health challenges and complications. 400 million people are estimated to have an alcohol use disorder in the world. In comparison, 80 million people have a drug use disorder, or a drug that isn't alcohol. So 5 times as many people experience an alcohol use disorder than any other drug. And we are seeing increasing rates of cancers and health challenges because of alcohol. Now, maybe not almost entirely because of alcohol, but certainly that is a massive contributing factor. And you referenced that you have a drink on occasion. A lot of my work is really to help people realize that even one seemingly innocent drink per night, just 7 standard drinks a week, is still enough to compromise areas of your health, your marriage, your relationship with your children, your self-confidence, your career, your money-making, income-generating possibilities. That's really the work that I do, is to really help people open their eyes to that seemingly innocent drink, which you think is no big deal, could actually be a very big deal.
This show is brought to you by Bon Charge, and I want to take a minute to tell you about one of their amazing products that I'm absolutely in love with. So, there's something I've been doing for about 10 minutes a day, and it's wearing a face mask. But it's not just any face mask, it's this Bon Charge red light face mask, and it's essential to my nightly skincare routine now. And believe me, red light therapy really works. It's well established in the research to improve the appearance of your skin. And how it does that is it penetrates deep into the skin to boost collagen production. It reduces the size of your pores. It reduces inflammation, and it eases the signs of aging. Bon Charge's red light face mask makes it so easy to take care of your skin. It's kind of like a mini spa session every night that I'm doing. It can be used easily at home. There's no cord, so you can wear it while you're doing other tasks. Plus, the mask is totally painless and it doesn't heat up, unlike some other beauty anti-aging treatments. Bon Charge's red light face mask has been a game changer, and it's part of my everyday skincare routine now. And I'm seeing such great results already from using this mask. My skin is more clear, it seems more plump and fresh and juicy, and my redness and dark blemishes are fading. So there's a very special offer for all of my listeners. Right now, my listeners get 15% off when you order from boncharge.com and use my promo code Wendy at checkout. So this discount applies site-wide. So that's BONCHARGE.com. And you'll also get free shipping and a 12-month warranty. So go now to get this exclusive offer. That's boncharge.com. And with promo code Wendy, you get 15% off. This is one of my secrets to super healthy, young looking skin. I'm trying to reverse the clock. I'm trying to do everything I can to anti-age. And this is one of the secrets in my toolkit. Yeah. And, so one of the reasons that I would drink on occasion is because you hear you in that study that has, just has been around for decades, really, about how one glass of alcohol a day is healthy for you. So that, using the kind of rationalization that some of the longest lived people in the world have alcohol as part of their, daily habits. Can you talk a little about that and why that's now been debunked?
Yes. These studies started to come out in the 80s claiming that a glass of wine a day was good for your heart health. And they've been debunked so many times now over the past 3 decades. But yet we as a society like to try to cling on to this attractively packaged poison and keep referencing this study. In actual fact, in 1991, the television news series 60 Minutes did a very famous, I would submit, infamous story on the health benefits of wine. The journalist at the time, his name is Morley Schaefer. He's passed now, but he interviewed this French scientist who, incidentally, also came from a family of winemakers. And this French scientist was arguing that a glass of wine was actually good for cardiovascular health and was a secret to longevity, et cetera, et cetera. And in the day after this TV news piece aired, US airlines reported selling out of red wine on their flights. There was a 30% increase in red wine sales over the next 30 days after the episode aired, and a 23% increase in wine sales over the corresponding year. 32 million Americans watched that 60 Minutes episode. 32 million Americans. So 60 Minutes was a big deal back in 1991. And it was almost as if, wow, now I have proof. Now I've got reason to go out there and drink my alcohol without guilt or shame. And it just didn't stop. That's what's happened over the ensuing decades. There's just one big problem with that 60 Minutes episode, and that is that none of it was true.
Yeah.
It's all been debunked. It's all ridiculous. In fact, there was a study that came out in 2022 out of the UK of 36,000 middle-aged adults, which showed that even one drink a night, 7 standard drinks a week, was enough to destroy gray and white matter in the brain. In other words, one drink a night can cause some level of brain degeneration. And yet we're still bowing down at the altar of alcohol, worshipping this attractively packaged poison, trying to say, oh, but isn't one drink a day good for you? Isn't it great? No, it isn't. And medical science, the way it is now, and what we understand with new technologies and new ways of studying things, is increasingly showing that no amount of alcohol is good for you. So again, my work is really to open the eyes of people and bring the latest, most recent studies and information to people so they can make their own choice.
Yeah, and it's people want some sort of kind of validation for their reasons for drinking. So the one glass of wine a day was just the perfect excuse for people to imbibe. And I remember thinking many, many times, oh, I'm gonna have my one glass of red wine. And that's healthy. That's okay. I've thought that so many times I can't even tell you. Not anymore, but so let's talk about some of the health effects of alcohol that people may not be aware of. What is it doing to your liver? Because obviously your liver is your main detox organ. That's what's the liver's got to process this, three-alarm fire. Whenever you drink alcohol, it's got to process that. What else is it doing to your liver?
Well, alcohol turns your liver into a hormone disruptor. So the liver regulates estrogen, testosterone, and the thyroid hormones. Alcohol damages the liver cells, reduces its ability to metabolize hormones, which causes imbalances that affect mood, fertility, and metabolism. Alcohol raises estrogen, especially in men. So if you have damaged liver function, then you have poor estrogen clearance. And this leads to elevated estrogen in men, which can cause fat gain, especially around the chest and the belly, low libido, mood swings, reduced muscle mass. In women, it can inflame or worsen PMS. It can also, alcohol can also block fat metabolism in the liver. So the liver actually prioritizes metabolizing alcohol over everything else, including fat. So this can promote fatty liver disease, which affects over 1 in 4 adults and often goes undiagnosed. It disrupts cortisol and insulin regulation, destabilizes blood sugar. Over time, this can lead to insulin resistance, adrenal stress, hormone chaos. It suppresses our detox pathways. So liver detox phases, which are known as phase 1 and 2, get overloaded when alcohol is present. So that means a slower clearance of toxins, excess hormones, inflammation, all of which affect the thyroid, sex hormones, and the mood. So none of that sounds good. A lot of that was a lot of very specific things, but none of that's particularly good for us, I would submit, Wendy.
Yeah, and especially for the women listening that are perimenopausal, say they're, 40 to 50 years old, that's the last thing that you want to be doing when you already have hormonal dysregulation, reduced hormone production, when you're having trouble sleeping, when you women start, the estrogen goes down, the cholesterol starts creeping up. They also have, blood sugar regulation issues as their liver function maybe decreases and then just the pancreas starts, is to wear out. So really you're just adding fuel to the fire. But yet there's so many people having that glass of wine every day at the end of their work day.
My wife is pregnant at the moment, and she has had some really noteworthy mood swings, and her hormones are all out of whack. As we're recording this, she's 11 weeks pregnant, and she's been having a really tough time with mood swings and some sadness and catastrophizing things. It's fascinating to watch. I have so much empathy for her, and she's so brave. And every woman who's gone through that, I really salute you, because I had no idea it could be that pronounced. And I say that because even for women who are not pregnant, like, alcohol affects our mood. And I say our, men and women. I was really referring to women in general for this part of the conversation, but alcohol affects our mood. It messes with our hormones, which can cause noteworthy mood swings. Sadness, depression, irritability, frustration, anger. Marriages have ended unnecessarily because of mood swings for men and women, exacerbated in part due to consuming attractively packaged poison. This poison, which we call alcohol, has been proven to increase stress, increase anxiety, what does that do? I'll tell you what it does. It makes us more irritable, more prone to react instead of respond, which shows up as fighting with your partner, being disengaged with your children, feeling upset with a boss or a colleague in the workplace, feeling helpless about the future, being angry with the president or the current economy, politics, etc., etc. All of that irritation and frustration we feel is exacerbated when we drink that poison.
Yeah, and can you walk us through that self-medication that people are doing? Because a lot of people rationalize themselves, oh, I need this to reduce stress, or I need this to go to sleep. Let's just talk about sleep for right now. So,
Yeah.
what, why is the alcohol not helping with sleep at all? Like, what does that look like?
You're better off drinking for breakfast than you are anywhere close to bedtime. Because at least if you drink alcohol with your cornflakes and toast in the morning, your body will have 16 hours to get rid of most of the toxins that you've just drunk. The problem is that most people are drinking at nighttime, close to bedtime. And what we're essentially doing is we're clocking the body in for a night's work at a time when we're supposed to be clocking the body out of the work that it's been putting in during the day. So just when you feel like, oh, I'm ready to rest with sleep, you drink that alcohol, it gives you this temporary illusionary feeling of rest. But you're actually going, okay, time for the body to go to work for the next 8 or 9 hours. Now, what happens is that while it is true that drinking alcohol may in fact help you to fall asleep, because it can be looked at as a sedative. However, the quality of that sleep is going to be so severely compromised that you will wake up feeling tired and irritable and frustrated and with some shame and regret and feeling lethargic because you had that glass of alcohol or 2 or 3 or 4 the night before. So drinking, I would submit, doesn't necessarily help you fall asleep. What might be more accurate is to say that drinking alcohol close to bedtime helps you pass out. That may be true, but then you undo any benefit of that with the quality of your sleep being severely compromised.
And now a word from one of our sponsors of the Myers Detox podcast. So I want to tell you about a lip peptide treatment that I've been using, and I've gotten amazing results. And it was created to help you restore smoothness, fullness, and lasting hydration to your lips while protecting against visible signs of aging and environmental stress. And what I love most about this lip peptide treatment is that it contains True Energy's signature proprietary biophoton frequencies to enhance cellular communication, optimize ingredient absorption, support collagen production, and helps lips maintain their smooth, fuller appearance over time. Something I'm really into right now at age 53. And honestly, I can't ever see myself using any kind of skincare unless it has frequencies in it that enhances its effectiveness and sends new information to your skin and to your lips to improve their appearance. So this True Energy peptide contains plant-based botanical oils, vegan moisture sealing waxes, and a collagen boosting clinically studied peptide infused with True Energy's signature frequencies to condition, smooth, and energize lips for a healthier, more youthful appearance. And each ingredient is also sourced to meet high purity standards and doesn't contain any synthetic fragrances, parabens, toxic ingredients, or harsh petrochemicals. So if you're ready to smooth away the look of fine lines around your lips, maintain lasting softness and hydration without stickiness, enhance natural lip volume and contour, protect against dryness, flaking, and environmental damage, and energize your own lips repair and renewal cycles, True Energy is offering a BOGO special, so you can buy one, get one free for a limited time for my listeners only. So go to trytrueenergy.com/Wendy3. So it's TRYTRUENERGY.com/Wendy3 to get a buy one, get one offer. This is something that I use every single night. I absolutely love this product. Highly, highly recommend it. Yeah, and people are really after that GABA. I mean, when people do drugs or alcohol, they're self-medicating essentially and using it to feel a certain way. And you're really just after the GABA. So why not just take GABA? That makes more sense to just take some GABA to go to sleep and you'll get a much better result. And when they drink alcohol at night, you are raising your blood sugar. And when you do that, you increase at some point, a couple hours after that alcohol, your blood sugar goes up. And so does your cortisol when your blood sugar goes up. And then you end up waking up. And that's the last thing you want. And your blood sugar stays high the rest of the night. So guess what? You're not burning any fat, which is what you should be doing when you're sleeping. You're not detoxing, which you should be doing when you're sleeping. So it just creates this whole cascade of problems, including not sleeping well.
The other problem with drinking alcohol at any time, whether it's breakfast or evening, is that it leaves you with an increased appetite. And so you're prone to wanting to eat more, which then raises your blood glucose levels and gives you a spike, and also puts on more unwanted body weight in many cases. And if you think about it, if you go to a restaurant, you walk in and you say, oh, I'm not going to drink tonight. I'm not going to, or rather, I'm not going to have the dessert tonight because I'm watching my weight. Then the smiling assassin comes over, the waiter or the waitress. I call them smiling assassins because they're smiling as they're about to offer you their attractively packaged poison. So hello, Miss Myers. Hello, Mr. Swanwick. Can I get you started with a glass of wine? Can I get you something from our drinks menu? They're essentially saying, can I get you started with a poor night's sleep? Can I offer you 10 pounds of unwanted body fat? And then we drink that drink. And then later on, about an hour later, they come over and say, oh, here's the dessert menu. Can I get you ice cream? Can I get you a cookie or a muffin or, creme de brulee or whatever? Well, because you've had that glass or two of wine, the body is now craving carbohydrates. It's now craving more food. Now the self-discipline you swore that you would have at the beginning of the meal has gone out the window, and you're like, oh, yeah, okay, all right. Anyone want to share the creme brulee? Anyone want to share? And then you get like 3 different spoons, and now you kind of share it, but you're like competing to see who can get more of the chocolate because it just tastes so damn good. And so now you're eating another 200 calories maybe that you didn't want to. And now, your sugar levels going up, and then you go to sleep. Now you got 2 glasses of wine, you got sugar, you got unwanted calories, and then you wake up in the morning and you wonder why you get on the scales or whatever it is that you do, and you haven't lost those pounds that you intended to. Or even if you have, and it's not really about weight loss or the scales, maybe it's just about how you feel. You're like, I feel like crap. I already had 2 drinks and I feel like crap. I already had a few bites of the ice cream and the creme brulee. I feel like crap. Or if you don't feel like crap, maybe it's just you don't feel at your best. Instead of feeling like a 9 out of 10, you feel like a 6 or a 7. And that shows up with like, oh, I'm pretty tired. Let me just go and have a muffin. Let me go and get some chocolate or have a Gatorade just to give me a little energy boost. And then you get stuck on this vicious cycle that just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, and then you feel like crap and you want to drink again the next day. Start that cycle all over again. And let's, you talk about the situation at dinners, poor decision making, because, alcohol lowers your inhibitions. You're going to make poor decisions habitually when you drink on a regular basis. And though, let's talk about in relation to high performers, or you advise high performers and business, people in business and entrepreneurs to not drink. Can you kind of expand on that, how it helps
Yeah.
people just in every aspect of their life, including business?
Well, let's talk about the business part of this. Maybe you have an entrepreneur who's a listener. Maybe you have someone who's an executive. I help a lot of people who consider themselves to be high performers, and that includes a business owner, an executive, a CEO, an attorney, a doctor, a physician, a chiropractor, a pilot, a real estate investor, a retiree. A lot of our clients are in that demographic, mostly in their 40s, 50s, or 60s. And often what happens is they come to us as a prospective client and we ask them some questions, what's going on? Tell us about your business. And they say, oh, I'm probably operating at about a 6 out of 10 compared to what I know my potential is. And I say, okay, well, how much money does the business make in annual revenue? And let's just use an example, Wendy, okay? $1 million annual revenue, okay? Someone comes to me, they're drinking, they're 6 out of 10, they're tired, lethargic, irritable, they don't hire someone quickly enough, they don't fire someone quickly enough, they don't have a strategic direction. They're kind of like just drifting in their business, $1 million a year at a 6 out of 10. I go, okay. Now, if you were alcohol free for at least 90 days, but let's say for a year, and now you had clarity, focus, energy, you're sleeping better, you felt more confident, you hired someone quicker, you fired someone quicker, you made an additional sales call, you raised your prices, you were thinking strategically in the business, and you were feeling like you're operating in an 8 or a 9 out of 10. How much money would that business make? And then they invariably say something like, I would either double my revenue, or maybe I'd do half again. And I go, okay, let's do the most modest figure here, half again. So you're telling me you would generate an additional $500,000 a year if you were alcohol free? And they say, yes. And I say, okay, your drinking habits are costing you $500,000 a year. And then I shut up. And there's this silence. And there's usually like this proverbial dropping of the penny, a penny drops. And they go, oh, wow, my drinking habits are costing me $500,000 a year. And then I say, yes, they are. It's not that you're spending $2,000 or $3,000, $4,000 a year on alcohol. It's you're not making $500,000 in the business because you're drinking alcohol. Then I pull out my calculator. I've got my calculator here, Wendy, I'm showing you. And I say, let's take $500,000 and divide it by 365 days of the year. Each day of the year you have a drink, it's costing your business $1,369.86. And I say, how many drinks a day or night do you drink? And they'll say 2. And I say, how many is it really? And they might say 3. I say, okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. 2 drinks a night. That's 700 drinks plus per year. Let's divide that number by 2. Each drink that you choose to drink is costing you $684.93. That's a pretty damn expensive cocktail, Dr. Wendy Myers. You open up that bottle of wine, you pour yourself a glass of wine as you're cooking dinner or you're sitting down relaxing at the end of the day. $684.93 is what it's costing you. So that's really how I help entrepreneurs or executives really identify the financial cost of that seemingly innocent drink at the end of the night.
Yeah, yeah, and that's very compelling, and let's talk about the brain functioning also, because when you're a high performer, you need your brain on working, juggling lots of projects, getting downloading ideas, and just all these things that you have to have your memory has to be working really good. All these things are totally incompatible with drinking alcohol. So you mentioned earlier that your gray matter shrinks when you drink alcohol, and I've seen some really compelling research on this. It's really shocking how much the brain can shrink over decades of using alcohol at a pretty minimal amount. Can you talk a little about that?
Yeah, I referenced that 2022 UK study of 36,000 people that linked alcohol to reduced brain volume, gray and white matter in the brain, and that's tied to memory and decision making. It damages the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is your executive control center, effectively. That affects your impulse control, your judgment, your focus. So this makes it a lot harder to say no to alcohol, bad decisions. That affects your performance. Alcohol also rewires the brain's reward system. So it floods the brain with dopamine. So when we drink alcohol, it lights up our dopamine receptors like the 4th of July. It's like fireworks are going off. Got it. The challenge is that as we drink this and the dopamine receptors get lit up like the 4th of July, we now need more of that alcohol to give us the same 4th of July feeling. And suddenly we get to a point where we've been drinking many years. And initially it was like 4th of July fireworks. And now it's like, oh, there's a little kids Sunday afternoon kind of fireworks display going on. It doesn't give us the same kind of high. So now we need to drink more to return to that 4th of July fireworks. It disrupts our neurotransmitters, especially GABA, which you referenced before, serotonin, glutamate. So the drinking actually, it can create the feeling of initially calming you, but over time, with that overuse, it leads to this rebound anxiety. The serotonin levels get affected. It lowers serotonin, which now increases depression. It suppresses our glutamate, which reduces our learning and memory function. And then long-term use of alcohol shrinks the hippocampus, which is the memory part of the brain, or the part of the brain that's responsible for your memory. And even in people who might consider themselves just to be a modest drinker, regular drinking has been associated with reduced volume in the hippocampus, which leads to memory lapses, slower learning, early cognitive decline. My mother is 80 years old. She's married to a wonderful man who's 83. He's got dementia. He's been a lifelong drinker. And I wouldn't say he was an alcoholic. He was a socially acceptable drinker, 2 or 3 drinks a night, beers, wine, scotch, whatever. I didn't see him drunk. I didn't see him behaving poorly. He's always been very good to my mother. But anecdotally, I'm convinced, I can't prove it, but anecdotally, I'm convinced that his dementia and cognitive decline is in part because of a lifetime of drinking habits.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen videos with Dr. Daniel Amen where he's looking at brains of drinkers and they look exactly the same as people with dementia.
Yeah.
And that, that really drives the point home. The proof is in the pudding when you're looking at these brain scans. And is any of that reversible? Say if someone has been drinking for a long time, can they, regain some of that brain functioning or brain volume?
It's possible, yes. I candidly don't have as much expertise from a scientific point of view on this, but I can tell you anecdotal evidence because I've been coaching people for 10 years now. Not specifically to do with dementia or Alzheimer's or anything like that, but let's just call it cognitive function, Wendy. I've had so many clients come to us as drinkers, foggy, distracted, irritable, seemingly unable to solve life's challenges. And then they go consistently alcohol-free through our 90-day stop drinking process or our 1-year stop drinking process. And suddenly they start saying things like, I'm just able to solve more problems. I'm able to solve problems quicker, faster. In fact, there was a study that came out of the University of California in Riverside, California, about 5 years ago. Dr. Rachel Wu is an associate professor there, and she conducted a study of a group of 60 to 80-year-olds. So folks in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And they hadn't been doing any formal learning, formal education since the age of 40. In fact, just to backtrack slightly, there's a study that shows that 50% of people over the age of 40 will never participate in any kind of formal education again. They'll scroll on Instagram and Facebook, but they won't do a course or a program. They won't learn a language. They won't learn how to play the piano. 50% of people over the age of 40 just stop formal learning. What she did was she took the group of 60s, 70s, and 80-year-olds and did a study where they had them do 5 classes a week for 90 days. Okay, so 5 classes, formal education, teaching them history and music and passion, all this kind of stuff. What they found was that after 90 days, the cognitive abilities of those people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s returned to the cognitive abilities of people in their 40s and 50s. So it returned to middle-aged cognitive abilities. They tracked that same group over an additional 9 months. So 1 full year, 5 classes a week. And after a year, they tested their cognitive abilities. Their cognitive abilities had returned to young people's levels, folks in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. Now, that's just with exercising the mind and having it think. That is extraordinary. So imagine if we now remove alcohol from the equation, which wasn't part of this particular study, but knowing of this study and now removing alcohol and knowing the damaging effects that we have on alcohol, imagine what we could do to our brains in that scenario where we remove the poison and we just engage in some kind of formal learning.
I want to say a couple of words about one of our Myers Detox podcast sponsors, Qualia Senolytic. So it's a cutting edge formula designed to help your body eliminate senescent cells, also known as zombie cells. So these outdated cells, they hang around, draining your energy and slowing your workout recovery and causing all kinds of havoc and mayhem. So backed by clinical research, Qualia Senolytic uses 9 plant-based compounds that support joint comfort, sharper focus, and better aging naturally. And here's the kicker. You only have to take it 2 days a month. simple, backed by science, validated by research. You can try it risk-free with a 100-day money-back guarantee. Go to qualialife.com/Wendy. That's QUALIA life.com/Wendy and use code Wendy to get 15% off. You want to try Qualia Senolytic. This is something that I've been taking. It's part of my anti-aging protocol because getting older doesn't have to feel like it. No, that's fantastic. And so, so what are some? Do you have any do you have any like client stories or anything that you can tell us of people that have quit and just dramatically improved their lives?
Evan Melcher is a 50-year-old financial services manager out of Atlanta, Georgia. He came to us as a drinker. He was on 5 different prescription medications, including acid reflux, depression, sleep, high blood pressure, and something else I can't remember. He had a young son who was 3 years old. He went through the program and stopped drinking. Within 4 months of stopping drinking, he was off all of his prescription medications. He was at a party on a Sunday afternoon where he would ordinarily be drinking, but on this particular Sunday, he was not because he was now 4 months alcohol-free. His 3-year-old son was drowning in a pool.
Mm.
He became aware of this, jumped in, pulled his son out, performed CPR, called the ambulance, rushed him up to hospital. He saved his son's life. Thankfully, his son is great, is still with us. Evan has said repeatedly that if he had been drinking that day, as would have been the norm, he would not have had the awareness that his son was drowning in the first place, and he wouldn't have been able to have performed CPR and performed to save his son's life. That's one story. That's pretty compelling. The same gentleman as well wore an Oura ring as a drinker and tracked his heart rate variability in his heart rate. And then he tracked his heart rate as a non-drinker, starting from the moment he started our Project 90 Stop Drinking program until a year later. He said after a year of being alcohol-free, he estimated and calculated that he saved himself 5 million heartbeats.
Wow.
As a drinker, his heart was doing something like this. That might be a little bit of an exaggeration, I'm not sure, but let's just say his heart rate was having to work pretty hard to get alcohol out and to keep him alive and to keep him healthy, as healthy as it could. And then he stopped drinking alcohol, his heart rate returned to something like this. Much slower, much calmer, more effective, much smoother. 5 million heartbeats he saved in 1 year. That is extraordinary. There's so many stories of people who come in here who reverse health complications, reconnect with loved ones, save a marriage. There was a gentleman named Christian who lives over in London in the United Kingdom. In the last 3 years of his wife's life, he cared for her. She had a terminal illness. He became very stressed and anxious, drank a bottle of wine every night as he was caring for the love of his life, who he'd been married to for 40 years. She finally passed. He drank for another year with grief and sadness, put on 40 pounds, lost hope, was devastated at the loss of his wife of 40 years, whose name was Ginny. And after a year, he recalled one of the last conversations that his wife had with him, which was, Christian, I want you to sail across an ocean because you've been talking about wanting to learn how to sail. It's been on your bucket list. You're not doing it. You haven't done it. You're 70 years old. When I pass, that's what I want you to do. Took him a year. He joined our program, stopped drinking alcohol, finally committed to it, learned how to sail. And 6 months after that, he competed in a yacht race from the Spain to the Caribbean, to St. Kitts, as a testament to his late wife, Ginny, in honor of his late wife, Ginny. And he was alcohol-free. And he shared that when he got off at the other end at St. Kitts, everyone who was on that boat and all the other competing boats who were there, they all went to the bar and they all started drinking. And he went to the bar and he drank a soda water ice and a piece of lime as an alcohol-free man, and then left the bar after about an hour and a half and just walked around and watched people drinking and just thought about his wife and thought, wow, I did it. And I'm alcohol-free and I feel amazing. So they're the kind of beautiful things that can happen when you choose to consistently be alcohol free.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great. And, another reason why I have decided to stop drinking is, I feel like bars are very low frequency places where people are going, everyone's drinking and they just tend to be, people with a lot of trauma, with a lot of issues they're trying to bury. It's just not a place that I want to be because that's going to affect you. You're going to be negatively impacted by that. And also if you're with someone who drinks all the time, you're going to be impacted by that as well. They make poor decision making. A lot of people that cheat are, that's can be a function of alcohol, people that commit crimes, people that are screwing you over in business or whatever the case may be. A lot of that is fueled by alcohol.
It is. And those bars can be those places. I remember when I was a drinker, I would go to the Jones Bar on Santa Monica Boulevard in Los Angeles, California with my friends, Zach and Tom, and we would go there twice a week and I'd have a wine or a gin and tonic or a beer. And then when I stopped drinking alcohol, I would return to that same bar, the Jones Bar, drinking soda water ice and a piece of lime. And my experience there was very different both times. First time was fun, pleasant enough, but I was drinking. But then I had all the consequences the next day and later on in the week. And then when I returned as a non-drinker, what was interesting is that my friend Zach still tried to get me to drink, to the point where he actually slipped vodka in one of my drinks and tried to get me to drink it. I was like, this is crazy that even my friends don't support this decision. But I was more aware, and I actually had more fun than I did as a drinker in the bar. But what I also found is that I just naturally started gravitating away from actually going to bars in the first place. It's not that I couldn't go into a bar now and not enjoy myself. I could as an alcohol-free man, because any environment I'm calm and fun and I'll find pleasure out of it, I'll just be drinking my alcohol-free alternatives. But you're right, what you say, Wendy, in that for the most part, if you go into a traditional bar across the United States now, probably what you would find is most people who are drinking are doing it because of a sense of loss or because of stress or anxiety, or try to get some relief from the discomfort of being themselves. And when you're in an environment like that, where everyone's trying to get relief from the discomfort of their life, that is a breeding ground for negativity, poor decision-making, bad energy, which can then show up in your health, your relationships at home, your clarity, your focus, and your well-being.
Yeah, yeah, the bars are just not nearly as attractive when you're not drinking. And can you give some people some tips on, how to kind of how to stop drinking, especially if they're using it as a crutch, they're using it to push down feelings, emotional trauma, and stress and things like that. How do people go about doing that? There's lots of couples that drink together and married couples that drink, and it can, I'm sure people can see that as being a problem if they want to quit, but then their spouse wants them to. There's a lot of different things to navigate when you're considering stopping drinking.
Yeah, there's 2 chapters in my book, Clear, which outlines the strategy for doing this, but I'll reference a couple of them. First thing is, stop trying to quit alcohol. Instead, focus on what you will do or what you do desire. For example, let's do the pink elephant thing. If I asked you to close your eyes, Wendy, and I said, do not think about a pink elephant, you will probably think about a pink elephant, even though I said, don't think about a pink elephant. Now, why is that? I'll tell you why. Because there's a bundle of nerves in our brain called the reticular activating system. And when we're thinking about a particular topic, we're talking about a particular topic, we go out throughout our day and we just tend to see more of those things we've been talking about. For example, if we talked about a red cars, Teslas, BMWs, red cars, you and I might go out in our car later on, and all of a sudden we start to see red cars. The red cars would ordinarily and have always been there, but now we notice them because we've been talking about it. That's the RAS. So when people are saying, I got to quit alcohol, I need to stop, don't drink tonight, all you're doing is focusing on more alcohol. And so it's very easy for you just go, whatever, let me have a drink. Instead, if we change our verbiage from I need to quit, I have to quit, to I get to be alcohol free. I easily only drink soda water ice and a piece of lime tonight. I love going to bed feeling refreshed. I can't wait to drink my mocktail this evening. I'm going to walk up to the barman tonight at this restaurant dinner that I'm going to and confidently order a soda water, ice, lime, a little bit of mint, maybe throw in a little bit of cranberry there. It's going to be delicious and refreshing. Now, in that scenario, we're telling ourselves what to do. We're telling our reticular activating system healthy choices, positive action. Now we've got a goal we can achieve. And it feels a lot more simple than I need to stop, I can't drink, I have to quit. So to summarize all that, the first step is change your verbiage. Focus on what you will do. I get to be alcohol-free. I choose to be alcohol-free. I love being alcohol-free. I'm ordering this alcohol-free drink tonight. Second thing is to look at living an alcohol-free lifestyle as the joy and the reward. And stop looking at drinking alcohol as the joy and the reward. Stop looking at not drinking alcohol as deprivation and boredom and being dull. And start looking at living alcohol-free as fun and joyful and freedom. Most of us are going through life going, oh, if I'm going to stop drinking, I'm going to be dull, boring. I'll have to retreat from society. I won't be able to go to parties. I won't be able to go to the dinner party. I won't be able to go out with colleagues. Nonsense. Go to all of those events where alcohol is flowing and just be alcohol-free. You will have the most fun. You'll dance on tables if that's what you're into. You'll be engaging, talk to people. You'll smile. You'll laugh. You'll own being alcohol-free. You're not depriving yourself of something. I would also say that stop referring to drinking as a special occasion. Oh, I'll just drink on a special occasion. Why is attractively packaged poison worthy of you referring to it as a special occasion? Every day you're alcohol-free, with joy and clarity and a great night's sleep and a smile on your face and living a life of appreciation instead of expectation, that's the special occasion. And you get to generate a special occasion every damn day of your life. So there are a few practical things. The other thing I would just say is get around a group of like-minded people who have a common goal, which is improving their health, being alcohol-free, or at least who drink modestly and don't need alcohol in order to create a social connection, romance, networking, drinks with colleagues. Get around that group. And that's candidly what our organization does. We get like-minded people, executives, entrepreneurs, people who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s. You get them together. We coach them. We support them. We empower them to live an alcohol-free lifestyle. And because there's that relatability amongst the similar demographic and the similar outlook in life from the similar professions, now it's like, oh, these are my people. I get to do this. Great. And then everyone supports each other. That's when change becomes probable.
So for anyone listening that really wants to detox their body, go to heavymetalsquiz.com. I created a quiz for you. It only takes a couple of seconds. Based on some lifestyle questions, you can get your toxicity score and get a free video series that answers all of your frequently asked questions about how to detox your body. Check it out, heavymetalsquiz.com.
Yeah. And another reason I stopped drinking was because I wanted to be more present. I wanted to be more still. I wanted to maximize my intuition. I wanted to maximize my ability to hear God's messages to me and my inspiration. And I just feel like a lot of that happens in the early morning. Say if I wake up in the middle of the night or really early in the morning, I can meditate and be still and download messages or inspiration or whatever ways God is speaking to me. And you're just missing out on that when you're drinking alcohol. And all of the intuitives I know, medical intuitives and other types of intuitives, none of them drink. None of them drink. They got the download that they needed to stop drinking to be the best person they could be. So I'm actually going to see my personal doctor tomorrow, Dr. Michael Rankin. He got a message to stop drinking probably 25 years ago. He's never drank since. And these are, for me, it's just, I just want to maximize my relationship with God, and alcohol is just no longer a part of that.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
And and desirable for anyone who doesn't have that at the moment. I would say, what a great thing to aspire towards. Yes.
Yeah, and I also felt, with my goal and what I talk about on this podcast all the time is, I want to live a long, healthy, disease-free, medication-free life, have a super high quality of life. And alcohol does not play into that. It does not play into wanting to detox my body, wanting to be super alert and my brain working well into old age. It ages you. I remember so many times that I've drank, you wake up and your face is puffy and your eyes are puffy. You have all this inflammation, and you're aging your body, aging your skin when you're drinking as well. So just none of it, nothing that alcohol does to your body plays any role in someone trying to get healthy, trying to anti-age or live a long, healthy, disease-free life.
If you are drinking your green juice in the morning, going to the gym, exercising, getting sunlight, and then drinking attractively packaged poison, you're undoing all of the benefits, or most or many of the benefits of exercising, drinking your green juice, being conscious of your nutrition, etc. The analogy is this: imagine you're on the highway driving a car. You've got your foot on the accelerator because you're trying to get somewhere, but simultaneously you've got your foot on the brake. That's what's happening when you're drinking alcohol. And I always say to people, stop pushing so hard. You don't need to push harder on the accelerator. All you got to do is take your foot off the brake, and you'll just naturally start to go further, faster, get where you want to go quicker.
Yeah.
But when we're drinking, it's just this ball and chain. Get rid of the ball and chain.
Yeah, and also for people out there that are taking hormone replacement or they're taking thyroid medicine, if you're drinking, you're not metabolizing those hormones properly. Even if you're taking them every single day, like your doctor prescribed, they're not working how they're supposed to because they have to be metabolized by the liver and processed by liver and changed into other hormones and different metabolites and all these things that happen in the liver. You are negating all of the positive effects that you're trying to achieve with your hormone replacement or your thyroid medication, etc.
Yes. Alcohol is a massive disruptor to any of your health goals, and any disruptor to your health goals physically is a disruptor to your mental health goals, which is a disruptor to your family goals, which is a disruptor to your business goals. So they're all intertwined.
And what do you say to people that just feel like they can't imagine stopping alcohol? They feel like it'd be really difficult to just stop and go cold turkey. Are there any transitionary tactics that you recommend to people?
Well, the first thing is to change the mindset around you're giving up something and instead focus on what you're going to get. And that comes back to what I referenced earlier. Most people find stopping drinking challenging because they're relying on the most ineffective strategy of all, which is willpower. Dry January, sober October, dry July. Listen, they're all fine for getting people to experience what it's like to live alcohol-free, but they are incredibly ineffective long-term because most people go into those challenges feeling like they're in a prison, just trying to get through to day 30, when what are they going to do? Celebrate with a drink. And when you're in a prison, you feel like you're in a prison and you're white knuckling it and you're using brute willpower and you consider not drinking deprivation and boring and dull, and you feel like a prisoner. What do most prisoners want to do? They want to break free from prison, which is why on day 30, even though you go, I got to day 30, you go and celebrate with drinks. And then you return to the same level of drinking that motivated you to do the 30-day challenge in the first place. So look, people have got different strategies. I think if you're going to do this, dip your toe in the water, commit to at least 7 days to start off with and just see how you feel. If that feels good, try to get to 14 and then 21 and just keep pushing it, right? But you have to rewire the mindset to believe that not drinking is preferable to drinking. Without that, you will just always feel like you are in a prison. Look, there's lots of resources as well. I have a podcast called the Alcohol Free Lifestyle Podcast. You can start to listen to those kind of things and get more comfortable with the idea. We have a program, which is a 90-day stop drinking process, which was thoroughly and rigorously studied by the University of Washington in 2023, and it showed a 98% reduction in drinking amongst those study participants. You can search for the study online and you can see that. The reason why that was so effective, I would submit, is because people were doing it in a group of other people who were also going through that challenge. So you had that like-minded community and accountability. You could read my book, Clear, which is available where all books are sold, and listen to the audio book if you can handle my Australian accent for 8 hours. There's little things that you can do there to just get you used to the idea. You don't have to commit to never drinking again. We don't ask people in our program to commit to never drinking again. We just say you got to commit to not drinking for the next 90 days, and then you get to choose. So, commit to a palatable goal, see how you feel, and then choose from there.
Okay, great. And then it seems like, a smart thing to do is working on emotional trauma, because that's going to be a big impetus, an underlying driver as to why some people drink. And I put people through, various bioenergetic programs, and they just reported to me that they all of a sudden they just stopped drinking or they stopped smoking, and they weren't even trying to, that they just had something release, some emotional trauma that had been identified in the bioenergetic software and protocol they used to release it, and they just stopped drinking, which I think is incredibly valuable, and something that, if you struggle with that, that's something that needs to be addressed if you struggle with drinking.
Yeah, just commit to your own personal development will help reduce cravings. And also, another interesting fact is that there's studies that suggest that a daily gratitude practice, whatever it is, reduces cravings for any drug by 30%. That's pretty extraordinary. So make things easier on yourself by journaling, writing down something that you're grateful for every day.
Okay, fantastic. Well, James, thanks so much for coming on the show. And why don't you tell people what your website is and where they can learn more about your program and what you do?
Thanks, Wendy. alcoholfreelifestyle.com/clear will take you through to where you can get my book online, but you can find it online wherever books are sold. There's an audio version, audible version. You can find the book on Amazon as well. It might be the easiest for most folks. alcoholfreelifestyle.com is the name of the organization, where you can find information about our Project 90 stop drinking program and process. I have the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, which is called Alcohol Free Lifestyle. And then I'm on social media at Instagram, which is just my name, at James Swanwick.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Well, James, thanks so much for coming on the show. And everyone, this is your call, my plea to you to reconsider alcohol, to maybe just consider why you don't need it. You don't really need it. There's lots of other options out there to reduce stress and to self-medicate and things like that, healthy alternatives. And it definitely impedes your ability to detox, which is the exact opposite of why you're listening to this podcast. So everyone, thanks for tuning in. I'm Dr. Wendy Myers, and I love doing this show, love bringing you experts from around the world to help you make those distinctions, give you the tools that you need to improve your life and your health. So thanks for tuning in.
The Myers Detox Podcast is created and hosted by Wendy Myers. This podcast is for information purposes only. Statements and views expressed on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Wendy Myers and the producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. Individuals on this podcast may have direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.